people were asking me to do remixes. Sam had actually given me a copy of like Ableton 3 or something. And I was trying to do like my own remixes and I really sucked at it. And I was really bad. And I was doing like disco edits, which I was like good at, but then I couldn't do like any production. So I had like some remix that somebody had asked me to do. And I came to Sam and I was like, will you help me with this? And Sam like, that's how Walker Royce was born. It was like Sam in like 5 minutes was like, oh, you mean this? And I was like, I hate you. Let's work together.
God, can I just say what a fucking privilege it was to interview Walker and Royce? Like, I try not to fangirl too much in these interviews, but it was hard not to because I've been following their journey for so long and I'm just so proud of what they've accomplished and proud of myself for hitching my wagon to them so early on. Their story is so crazy and it's stuff you're not going to find on Google. Stuff like how they got their start in the music industry. Hint, it was in a mailroom, to being homeless for a short amount of time, to meeting Claude Von Stroke, aka Barclay Crenshaw, for the first time, and their funny little run-in with him, to now being on Dirtybird. Like, there's so many cool lessons in this conversation. They're not gonna like jump out at you, but you have to listen. You have to hear and pay attention to how they've navigated challenges over literally the past 2 decades, because there is a lot to learn for yourself in this conversation. I'm so pumped to talk to you guys. It's been a while. We've been trying to make this happen with your team since I think November, but I know that you've had a really busy run of shows and the tour officially ended a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
I just want to know how you're feeling because this is a huge victory for you guys. Your second album with Dirtybird. What do you feel right now?
I'm a little exhausted. Honestly, but it feels good. It feels I don't know. I can't believe it's like almost it's done. It was like talked about for so long, and now that it's over, I'm like, this is kind of insane that it's over already. I mean, Sam, how do you feel? I feel tired, but like I feel like we've accomplished something, and I'm really happy about it.
I'm really blown away with how everything went. I'm like we had several shows sell out. And, just so happy, like, coming into, a lot of places like that we've never played before and, much bigger rooms that we're used to playing. And yeah, just the energy has been amazing. So, and it's nice to see it, it'd be tough if like, some of the tracks on the album, like if we were not like playing the tracks on the album, it'd be kind of like tough, but like not only have we had, we've had like a good tour, but like, the tracks in the album are working, which for me, personally, like, maybe everyone would be like, oh, everything's great. But it's like personally to see the tracks working is very good, because they don't have to, you know what I mean? Like it could be like, falling flat or something like that. But like, no, like
that's happened before.
Like, all right, thank goodness. Yeah.
That's happened before.
Around it,
Yeah.
I'm surprised, but I do understand that that's got to be nerve wracking to put your body of work in front of a live audience. Totally. Multiple nights in a row.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of people who watch the show are, producers just starting out. And I love that you were just so honest about how exhausted you are, because I think a lot of people, they see their heroes, they see the people doing the tours, doing all the things, and they're like, I want that. But what's on the other side of that is the exhaustion, the recuperation. So do you have like self-care routine? What are you doing now to kind of wean yourself off of that high?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just finding a balance of rest, right? So it's like, yeah, I mean, for me, it's like I think it's important to have, I'm exhausted. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining in any way. Like we had the best time ever. The tour was amazing. It was probably our best. I think it was probably our best tour we've ever done, as far as like doing like a body of like a tour. Like we're like, these are the dates. This is it. I think it was amazing. So it's had a lot of fun. It's just been like a lot of like, I've also had I live in Los Angeles and my mom lives in LA. So I've been seeing my mom. So I've just been personally having extra travel that I've had to do. So, but like for me personally, I don't know what Sam does, but for me personally, I need to just having days at home, multiple days at home where I get into a routine. I feel like that's the biggest thing with the traveling DJ thing is it's hard to stay in a routine. It's hard to stay healthy. It's hard to eat healthy. So when I have the time to do that, I just kind of snap back into I try to go to bed early. I try to get up, this is maybe me just also getting old. I don't party as much as I used to. So, for me, it's, I find that if I can get into a good routine, even if it's just for a few days, it really helps me mentally and it helps me physically as well. Get some exercise. I go out and hike or go to the gym or whatever. As long as I can kind of come back to this grounded thing, it does really help me. Sam has 2 daughters, so I'm sure his routine hits him right in the face when he comes home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I have to, I have to reserve my energy for them and for the family and everything too. But at the same time, they're I don't know, there's a whole satisfaction and contentment that I have because, I've got these wonderful family, wonderful wife, great 2 daughters and we're sort of settled down here. So that, that has a lot to do, I think, with my ability to just kind of handle a bunch of stuff, right? I can rely on them, as opposed to just kind of being all right, what the hell am I doing with my life, right? So it's really important.
I don't have kids, so I could just do nothing for 3 days if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But I've learned that actually doesn't help me when I do that.
Yeah, I mean, the more structure that you have in your life, you're kind of forced to get back on track as soon as possible. So I think that's a really good thing, whether it's having a family or just setting those boundaries for yourself.
Yeah.
It's super important, but also giving yourself space to rest because you just accomplished something amazing. That's also really important too. So the balance.
Yes.
And I know from, research, you guys met back in New York, right? This was early 2000s, 2000, 9, 10, something like that?
We met probably in 03.
03.
Yeah. We've known each other for a long time. We were both interns at there's a distribution company called Studio Distribution, which was they did a lot of CDs and a lot of vinyl for record labels back then. This is pre I think iTunes was maybe a thing, but it wasn't streaming wasn't digital wasn't the dominant format yet of music. So we were both interns at this company. They did Global Underground CDs, K7 Records was what run out of there. It was a cool place to be. And, classic music was all these really cool labels. And me and Sam were interns in the mailroom.
No way.
Yes.
You've done a lot of growing up together.
Yeah, we had to just send it would be somebody's doing I don't know how they do this stuff now, but a label like K7 Records or somebody or Global Underground would have a release coming out, and we would send if I remember correctly, Sam, we were doing the street promo teams. It'd be oh, Chicago's going to do street promo, so we would we would send them posters. We would have to
CDs. We would go to we would try to go to all the record stores and drop off flyers.
Yeah. If we were in New York, we had to go to record stores and drop off flyers personally.
And they didn't like us, and it was there, you know what I mean? They were oh, these guys,
Yeah. I'd come with a big stack of I'm here's all the it was little flyers to promote the releases. Yeah, and we'd go to Tower Records on Times Square and Union Square and stuff like that.
So that was really boots on the ground promoting.
Yeah.
No
streaming. Although
boots on the ground promoting for no money because we were
there. We were there when streaming kind of murdered the whole thing, or downloading.
Right.
Illegal downloading. Napster was just on fire, and
we were interns at a distribution company and we're never able to get hired because streaming took over and killed the physical music industry while we were there.
Literally as we were there. Yeah.
So everybody started moving into the company studio. I think somehow went under, and a lot of people went to different companies and stuff like that.
Wow.
But we stayed friends. We were friends with we had the same group of friends at that time already, and then our manager actually was there as well. So we're still friends with a lot of the people we met there, and we stayed friends for years.
I met our manager there. Yeah, then maybe I think
He ran the mailroom.
Or somewhere in there. Yeah. So we've known him now 20 years. Wow. That's great. 21 years, man.
So what I'm seeing here shake out is like this story of adaptability. So, your industry got killed by streaming and downloading, but somehow you two came together, on the other side of things to actually make the music. So when did that part come in?
The way it goes for me, I think, is me and Sam were friends. Sam was like, Sam had got a job. Well, you got a job working at Ableton.
I was working at Ableton, which had an office right there in like Chelsea.
But he wasn't doing like you were just doing like the sales rep kind of stuff for them, right?
Exactly. And like, it was weird because it was kind of like, I don't want to say it was a job I didn't want, but it was like, I had no idea. I was trying to do something totally different. And our manager, Matt, actually, like, he went in for this job and he's like, actually, Sam should do this job because I was already doing production stuff. And in the job, I was going to have to like probably explain to this different salespeople like how Ableton works. And so, and I had, a decent understanding of it until I started working there. I was like, oh my God, there's so much I don't know, right? It's like walking into the manual, right? I was just like, like there's, I thought I knew how to use this program and there's like, 90% of it, I don't know what I'm doing. So I started working there. And then a couple of years later was just like, I had gotten good enough at production from having to teach everybody else, like how to use the software, that I talked to my folks and I was just like, look, I want to do music full time. Let me try to do this. Like I can hold down a job. So you guys have seen me hold down a job. Now I need your help. Can you like help me, make this music career happen? And then like within 9 months or something like that, like I started working with Gav. Yeah.
That's so
was it
cool.
that? Yeah, okay, yeah. And then, but it was a few years of like, I think with studio,
in like 2010, and then we started working together in like 2011, like spring. It was literally like I think I quit that summer, and then in spring of 2011, we were already working together.
So you had worked there for like 4 years or something, right?
And I was there from like late 07 to like mid 10. Yeah. Right. So yeah.
Wow. So these days you'd be hard pressed to find someone who's just shoots up straight to the top, is making music, and that's all they're doing is their full-time thing right from the jump, unless, their parents, God bless them, are supporting their ventures. A lot of people are having to kind of, plug in, put in the work. And when you guys were doing that, that was before social media marketing was even a thing. But I can't imagine how many lessons you learned literally from the mailroom, from working at Ableton, from holding all of these jobs and not really having, because social media is a double-edged sword, not having like necessarily that platform to promote your music yet. So how were you juggling having to get income and then also putting your music project out there?
Well, just to say, like, I didn't have any help. So what had happened with me, my side of it was that I'd worked for a record label before I moved to New York. I had worked for this record label called Yoshitoshi, which is still around and was at the time when I worked there owned by Deep Dish, which is Sharam and Dubfire. And I was like, they didn't really hire me. So I was like, I moved to New York. And I was like, I'm just going to move to New York for a year and work at this company and see what happens. But I was a DJ. And what ended up happening for me is I was working in like TV production stuff. I was like a PA and a camera assistant on all these like reality shows for like MTV in New York. And then like, I was DJing on the side, and it just started really kind of happening for me. And for me, the DJing, I think this is how I ended up with Sam, is Sam was my friend and we were still friends, but he was kind of doing just music production, where I started becoming like, I was DJing in New York. Like I started DJing, like I was DJing like 5 to 6 nights a week. And I was DJing everything from like cool disco parties to like electro blog house parties to open format, like 90s hip hop parties. And I was just like a DJ. And I feel like that's where I kind of cut my teeth. And I definitely was working a lot. And what I think happened is people were asking me to do remixes. So Sam had actually given me a copy of like Ableton 3 or something. And I was trying to do like my own remixes, and I really sucked at it. And I was really bad. And I was doing like disco edits, which I was like good at, but then I couldn't do like any production. So I had like some remix that somebody had asked me to do. And I came to Sam and I was like, will you help me with this? And Sam, like, that's how Walker Royce was born. It was like Sam in like 5 minutes was like, oh, you mean this? And I was like, I hate you. Let's work together.
I love that. That just goes to show you have really complementary skill sets, which is so important in any duo. Of course, there's going to be overlapping, but to be able to complement, each other's strengths, that's huge. And that definitely shows, even to like fans who are Luddites like me, who know nothing about music technology, even I can see that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and like what Gav was saying, I had like no contacts, right? Like I didn't know anybody, because it's like, like you're saying, like the complementary aspect of it is like a lot of studio time. It's just like, I'm down here in the basement, like just like I'm not interacting with anybody, and it takes a long time to drill down with stuff, but like you need to be talking to people and sharing your music and understanding like, what labels and who's important and all this kind of stuff. No concept of that. And so
for me, I was DJing 6 nights a week, so I was out all the time, and and that's the one thing I did know. I knew everybody.
Yeah, exactly. I was
I was at this party. I was never, I was just like a DJ, like a New York local DJ that was playing everywhere. I knew where all the parties were. I knew all the promoters were. I never had to pay for parties or anything. I was getting booked at a bunch of parties, and I would hang out at a bunch of places. That's how I started getting. That's how people were like, "Oh, I like your DJ sets. You should do a remix for my label or for my track or something." And I'd be like, "Okay, yeah, I could do that," but I didn't know how to do
that. That's amazing. I don't know if you consider yourself an introvert, Sam. I am.
100%. Oh yeah.
Every introvert needs their extrovert, right?
Yes,
yeah. It's funny because I don't think I'm like hard coded introvert. Like I think it's more because this is my job. I have to be like, it's like I almost have to like lock down. Like, because I was doing sales. Like, so if I didn't have anything, if there was no creative pursuit at all, then I could be a lot more like salesy, or not salesy, I should say, like a lot more extroverted, just like, more talkative, because it's like my brain is always like, no, you should be doing this other thing, but this other thing is way more important. You have to go finish those tracks.
So do you think, because I think a lot of artists, a lot of producers are introverted, do you think you can make it today being introverted, or do you have to go out and do you have to shake hands and kiss babies? And
it's like if I was by myself and I hadn't met Gav, nothing would have worked out, but I would have had to at least find somebody like to do that. Like I would have had to, if not Gav, then it would have been like some manager or something like that to be like, Sam, you need to do this, you need to be pushed in this direction. I need to, you need to be writing these tracks, and I know these people, these labels and stuff like that.
I would state that I almost like maybe thought at first that I would help Sam. I thought like Sam's such a talented producer, maybe I could just help him and like help manage him. And then I kind of realized like I feel like I needed to be in. I feel like yes, there's like very much a yin and yang between us. And initially, when we first started making music together, it some of our first songs like just hit with everybody, and it was just like an immediate kind of reaction of people liking it. So I kind of felt like I knew we had this like dynamic that I didn't want to break up. But initially I kind of thought, oh, maybe I'll just like help Sam manage Sam, and I'll just be a behind the scenes guy. But
no, I mean it's really important because like I feel like I can probably work longer and harder in the studio because Gav is like a bit more the face man, and he can go like be like rubbing elbows at like 5 a.m. or something like that, like, super late night. And like,
he used to do that. I don't do that as
when
much.
He goes home, he doesn't have like the same, like, the same, all right, now you got to like, sit here and fuck with this like wave form for like 5 hours until it sounds right. Like that kind of thing. Yeah.
But but as far as people making it, I think, there's always a lot of people ask a lot of advice, like how to make it, how to do this. And it's like, I think one thing that people don't really know, like, for us, we're having a lot of success right now, and it took us a long time to get here. And it's like, we actually like failed a lot. I always try to tell people, it's like, you got to be willing to fail. So can an introvert make it? Yeah, absolutely. Especially if the music's good enough. The music always has to be good. Like,
right.
I feel like people sometimes don't realize that, if the music isn't good, like marketing's only getting to get you so far. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the music is more important. I almost feel like if music is good, it will always find a way.
But my output would not be anything close to what it is without Gavin constantly being. Yeah,
I feel like we have a dynamic where we feed off each other. Like I said, I feel like I probably knew more about Ableton before worked with Sam than I do now, because like I just don't want to break up like the way we do things. Sam doesn't want me mixing down any records. He's one of the best mix engineers like around. Like he doesn't want me. I'm like, yeah, let me take a stab at it. It'll drive him crazy. He doesn't even want me to touch the computer. So we kind of take that dynamic and but as far as like for people wondering how to get to where we are, it's like we actually, I mean, what I consider failed a lot, if that makes sense. And we just put ourselves out there. It's like one thing I think people, some people are so careful about what they want to put out sometimes that they never put out anything and they never give a shot. And a lot of us, it's like just like us, we've been told no more than we've been told yes, So if that's like, I feel like that doesn't really kind of translate to some people. I think some people are like, all right, I'm going to do a remix, and now I got an agent, and I got an agent's assistant, and I have I have a manager, and like I have a stylist, but you're right, but you have one track, and it's like everyone's kind of thinking about this like business plan before they have the real you need to have the good content.
Yeah, the core competency. And it is, you're talking about, getting those no's and then getting your yeses. It is like sales. You have to be excited about getting the no's because it means you're closer to a yes. And a lot of people are afraid and they're discouraged by hearing no. And it's just a part of like character building and resilience. But it's important to hear it from, people like yourselves, that you had to go through those struggles too. Because it also helps, it also makes the successes 10 times better. How,
right. I mean,
you know what I mean?
We've already said we've known each other almost 20 years, or is it now been 20 years? It's been 20 years. We've known each other.
Yeah.
And this is where we've gotten here now after like 20 years. I mean, we've been working together since I think 2011, we started making music together. I don't think people realize that sometimes. I think that people think that we kind of came out of nowhere, especially when we did our first Dirtybird album. I think people thought we were just like these brand new guys. And I'm like, no, man, I've been, I was working at Toshi Records like when I was like 18 as an intern in college. It's like,
right.
We've I guess maybe is it called failing upwards? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. There's something to be said for just tenacity. I mean, like, we were 5 years in by the time Barclay Crenshaw like noticed us.
Yeah.
Right. Or maybe 4.5 years in when Justin Martin noticed us. It was like, and just, that's a long time when you're writing, that's months and months and months of writing stuff. And, you don't know where your money's coming from. God bless my folks for like helping out and stuff like that. But I also, I was married.
I was homeless at one point, and we had a studio in Brooklyn. And I wasn't homeless. I had friends that I would sleep on their couches. So I was technically homeless. Yeah. But I remember one time Sam went on vacation. You went out of town for like 2 weeks or something. And you were like, under no circumstances can you sleep in the studio. And I did the whole time he was gone. And I never told him. And I was like going to my friend's house to shower because I was like, all right, I'm going to give my friends a break for me sleeping. Because I had like a year where I was just like not making enough money because but that's what I was trying to say.
Oh, you mean like
I'm not saying that everyone has to go homeless to get where we are, but like
the rental over in like Bushwick.
Yeah.
Wait.
Oh, okay. No. I remember this. Yeah.
Okay. You were like, you can't sleep there.
This is the first time that you've heard this.
No. It sounds. I think he's heard this. I'm like, how did Will let you in the apartment? We're like, no.
It wasn't when it was when we had the rental
New York Studio Factory.
And they were like, under no circumstances can anyone sleep in here. And I was like, okay. But then I was worried that I slept in there for like a week and a half.
I was worried that we would get kicked out of the room, but we eventually, those guys were jerks anyway. So
yeah.
That's a great story. And it just goes to show that everybody's journey is different and you cannot compare yourself.
Well, that's the other thing I wanted to say is like, I feel like also people look for success and when they ask for advice, we've been getting asked this a lot recently, especially since for this album, this question keeps coming up and it's like, I think people are looking for this blueprint to follow. They want to like a schematics, like they're building a house and they can build the same house. It's just like, it's always going to be different. And it's a lot of it is just sticking it out. You know what I mean? If your favorite label doesn't want anything to do with you, there's going to be another label that might, so it's like you haven't, but it's like things you have to learn. It's like a lot of people will say, hey, I wrote this music for this label and then they didn't want it, but then some other label might want it and that might blow up on that label, you got to just stick it out and you got to like put yourself out there and like not get discouraged. And there's no blueprint. There's no like, formula to do this, if that makes sense.
I think also people might think that it's easy to write music.
Yeah.
It's very fast.
People do think that.
It takes like hours. Like it just takes like a long time. And like a lot of it is, I don't know, knowing like once you've written some tracks that are successful, like first of all, almost every single track that we've ever done, sick to death of at the end of it. I think it's a piece of crap at the end of it. It doesn't matter, right? Like it doesn't matter if it's rave grave or whatever. Just like, I don't know, this is going to people are going to hate this, that kind of thing. And then after having that happen a bunch, there is a part of your brain which starts to understand like the difference between like, you're like, okay, now I can sort of hear that this is going to work, even though that I don't like it anymore. It takes a long time for that to come up.
Well, you'll start to hate it, and then once it starts to work in the club, then you'll be like, okay, what we did was right.
Right.
Of course.
And then you'll start to love it again.
Yeah.
Listen, I have been on camera in some capacity my entire professional career, and I can't even look at myself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have an editor edit all my clips. I'm like, please, God, I cannot listen to myself talk. I can't listen to my own voice anymore. So I get it. And I can imagine when you're putting out an album, that really is amplified because you're putting together a body of work that flows together in some certain way. And when you're so close to it and you're digging into the details day in and day out, it's probably confusing. You're like, wait a second, like I need to take a step back for a minute because this is too much.
Yeah.
Some of these tracks, like the drum and bass tracks, we started in like 2020.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Because the album was supposed to, like we
didn't know what the hell we were doing in 2020.
Like pre-COVID or like, during 2020, we were like, okay, we're starting to lay the groundwork here. And then COVID just derailed everything. But in that summer, I think we started some drum and bass tracks, and now 2 of them are on the album.
Yeah.
Like 3.5, 4 years later. So, literally, it's like if you start something, it's like a cool idea. Sometimes you don't like, and that's another thing that comes from experience. Sometimes if I start a cool idea, but I know that I'm not ready to really arrange it, like I will sort of put it aside because I don't want to corrupt it. Like sometimes if you take a cool idea and you can smash it, by trying to go too far with it too soon. And I'm like, okay, like I think this is a good idea. Let me come back to it. Like randomly, I'm sure at some point I'll be digging through my projects and I'll find this one. I'll be like, wow, I can't believe I didn't finish this one. But it's like, okay, now you can maybe arrange it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I love that also speaks to the timelessness of great electronic music, because you can go back to a project that you created 4 years ago and make it relevant and fresh and something that people will love forever. And that's just so evident with, a lot of your tracks, even the ones that you're sick of. They can be played today and 5 years from now, and it'll still be fresh and exciting, when people hear it at the club.
Yeah.
Well, we hope. We'll see. We'll see what's going on in 2029. Yeah.
2029. God, it's closer than we
think. I know. I don't want to think about that. That sounds so far away from my head, but it's not.
2029 is just as far away as 2019, right? Isn't that insane?
No way.
Yes. Right.
That's crazy. Well, we did
trying to keep it upbeat here, Sam.
I know. Well, no, it is a mind fuck, but it's also exciting because it's like when you're on this, creative journey, you are literally creating opportunities for yourself. You're creating your future. And that's something that's so different. Nothing against people who work, one job, 9 to 5, and there's a clear path of, upward mobility. You just released your sophomore album. There's so much more to create. So that has to energize you a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm ready to, we just finished. One of the greatest things about we're doing this album in parts. And one of the best things about being able to do it in parts is we've been able to kind of continuously work on it. And I'm me personally am feeling, I'm almost ready to get it behind us and get working on some next music. So it's it definitely kind of motivated me a little bit. I feel like going in at the beginning of last year, we kind of didn't really know what to do musically. And then we kind of feel like something kind of hit, and that's why we decided to do the album. And now I feel like that, I don't know how Sam feels, but I'm kind of feeling like that creative energy is still I'm ready to keep nailing it down.
Well, that was the problem with COVID, right? That COVID kind of messed up the creative direction. Like it didn't really. I mean, all things, in full disclosure, I could already start to feel that in 2019, but then COVID really twisted it up, right? Like 2019, I was starting to feel like okay, this is starting to get stale in a certain way. I have to figure out where to go next. And then COVID happened, and then it just like the music industry kind of froze. Like obviously there was some stuff that came out in 2020 and 2021, but everything very much slowed down. And we were basically playing the same tracks in 2021, and people were raging to them. Like we didn't feel like we had to move on. But then 2022, it was like everything's like, it's like we all caught up to where it would have been if COVID never happened. And then we were like, okay, now we really need to move on from all that stuff. And I mean, we still play, a bunch of our tracks. But things have gotten much faster, and there's a lot of techno now, and there's like a lot of, we're playing drum and bass in our set. Like these are not just album tracks. We're actually playing these tracks in our set.
Right.
I don't know if it would have been unthinkable, but it's more like we probably wouldn't have had the same, we wouldn't be deploying them in the same way.
Right.
Like it would be more of a novelty versus like, oh no, people actually we might even just start playing drum and bass in our set occasionally now. Right. Just because there's a lot of cool drum and bass.
I started downloading a bunch of drum and bass tracks.
Yeah, like instead of it just being sort of like a novelty, like, oh, here, we'll throw a drum and bass and track in here. Like, oh, cool, okay, now move back to the house. It's like, now I'll play 20 minutes. Now maybe play half an hour of drum and bass or something like that. If people are into it,
Yeah. Well, I can say anecdotally, all of the shows that I've been to, your shows, I mean, I've gotten a different set every time. And there's some other artists, and this is not like a dig, where I've gone and I've seen very similar sets because they have it's like in their branding, like this is how they do things. This is, that's their structure. But with your sets, it is always something fresh and new.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody, we have a few routines. We definitely have like a few things where we're going to play some tracks, but we always try to present it in a different way. We definitely never plan anything. I feel like we maybe have planned like one set that like we needed to or something, but
the shorter the set is, the more we need to plan it. Right.
Right. Yeah. I feel like we played like 45 minutes somewhere, and we were like, all right, like what are we going to play? Because it's like 40. We don't want to like. There's no time to experiment, but but definitely like we try to give it something different. There's definitely some songs where I'm like, this song sounds perfect out of this song, so I might do it a few times. But I think for the tour, we opened up like all the shows with like Let's Live It Up. It just felt right. But now that the tour's over, we're probably not going to open our sets.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say we'll probably change it
because like we're like, okay, that was like the lead song of the album. This album tour. We felt like that was the right thing to do for the album. So every set for the last like couple months we've done that. But like now it's like, okay, let's figure out a new opener, and we'll still play that song, but maybe we'll play it like near the end of the set. So,
Right. So what can you say about now that the like official tour for the first part of the album is over? How do you go about planning? I mean, obviously you check in with your team, got to see what there's demand for, what festivals are coming up. I mean, that's coming up so soon, which is fucking crazy that like we're at that point.
I think March 1st is like a festival season official, because it's like, I feel like Cross Festival happens in San Diego. And now it's like, okay, now everyone's playing festivals from now on, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So is that kind of your game plan, or what's the next step?
We have, I got to look at our schedule. We have some cool festivals that we're doing this summer. I don't think they've officially announced yet, so we won't say what they are yet.
Well, we're doing Beyond in 2 weeks.
We're doing Beyond in a couple weeks.
I think that's been announced.
We're going to Winter Music. We're going to Miami for Winter Music Conference.
Yeah.
For like our own RDA party. We have another big RDA party coming. We're doing in Austin, which isn't like a festival, but it's like the Concourse Project. It's like, it's as big as a festival stage. I feel like, we have it's such a cool club. It's like this warehouse in the middle of nowhere. And then,
exactly. It's like always slamming.
You're like, are we going to be at a farm soon? No, there's a warehouse right here.
Yeah. There's like people there, and you're like, what?
We got some other stuff we're doing. Australia is coming up soon too. I know that we're going to Australia I've only been thinking about this tour. So now I almost feel like this, like, I feel like just this week, this dust is settling and I'm like, okay, now what?
Right.
So I think we're asking ourselves the same question, you know, we're like, okay, what's the next move? The tour's been it's been really such a great tour. We had like, you know, It'll Do. I love playing these small clubs like It'll Do, not small, but like they're really fun, but then also like cool warehouses. So it's just been such a good mix, but yeah, I'm excited to play. I'm excited to play Beyond Wonderland. I haven't played a festival stage like that in months. So I feel like it's going to be cool to play outside again. And
definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm excited to write some more music to play this summer. That's what I think. I think we have a couple things that we're like excited to get into our sets. Like, you know, maybe one of those will become our next opener for the summer.
We did a bunch of sessions like in the meantime. That'll be, you know, we have to sort of now start to drill down on those projects.
Yeah, we got some really cool vocalists into the studio recently. So we're excited to work on some new stuff.
It's really exciting, and I'm so grateful that you took time out of this very busy schedule to chat with me. It's such a privilege for artists who listen to this show to be able to hear like just real, raw, authentic stories, you know, from the people they look up to. It's important conversations to have.
Of course, yeah, and just don't give up, guys. don't get mad if things don't go your way all the time, because eventually that's what I feel like happened with us. Is we had a whole long time of things not going our way and we almost quit. And I want to say, we were talking about this Claude Von Stroke. I want to tell this very funny story about Claude Von Stroke, because we played the first Dirtybird camp out and we were like, oh wow. And I found out later that we were on Cats and Dogs label, and that's why he booked us. We were American and he didn't have to pay an international flight. So we didn't really know why he booked us, because we weren't anything in Dirtybird. And for the longest time, Claude Von Stroke would always be like, you should have been at the first one, man. And I'm like, we were at the first one. Like, he always forgot that we were at the first one. He's like, you guys should have been at the first camp out. And I'm like, we were at the first camp out. We played Nude on Saturday. And we played the first set on Saturday and the first camp out. It was like noon and Christian Martin was eating breakfast Indian style on the dance floor.
But also, like, he's like, oh, you got to send me this track. We done this remix. It was like a sort of like a big remix for us. He's like, you have to send this to me. I've never heard it. I was like, you were in the booth when we played it. Yeah. Camp out.
Oh, we had this song Bright Lights that we had remixed, and we had given it to Justin Martin. And a couple weeks after the camp out, I had given it to Justin Martin to play, and then we got an email on the Monday after this weekend and it was from Eats Everything. One email was from Eats Everything and one was from Claude Von Stroke, and they're asking about this remix, and they're like, Justin wouldn't give it to us. And it was funny because Barclay is like, hi, I'm Claude Von Stroke. I'm not sure if you know me.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, we 2 weeks ago were standing together in the DJ booth at your festival. Yeah. But he's like, I'm not sure if you know me. That's why I think it's funny. He's always like, you should have been at the first one.
That's so funny. That is so funny. God, I told myself I wouldn't do this, but you gave me an opening. Okay. So, you know, you were saying that, you know, Justin wouldn't give him that track. I'm very upset about a track that I tried to Shazam at your set.
Okay.
50 times. And I don't know whose it is. You don't have to, all you have to tell me is it yours or not?
Okay.
It was a remix with, was it not Annie Lennox? The Talk to Me Like Lovers Do. Is that yours?
Talk to me.
Yeah.
That one.
That is, I will say who it is. It's AC Slater and A-Track.
Yeah.
And
I think Slater and A-Track.
Yeah. Which is like such a crazy, that's like probably one of our favorite songs to play right now.
Oh my God.
And
so good.
The story, from what I understand, I don't know if I'm doing bad gossip here and I shouldn't say this, but like I had gotten a text like last summer from like Chris Lake was like, I saw him at a festival and he was like, AC Slater just made the track of the year. And he was like, he's going to come out on Black Book. And that was like last summer. And then I never heard anything and I was like, and I remember a few months later being like, what the hell was he talking about? I never knew what he's talking about. Then we got a promo of it. And I think that they just couldn't clear it. It's, is that Annie Lennox? It's like, or is it like
Eurythmics?
Yeah. I was going to say, it was officially the Eurythmics.
Here Comes the Rain Again. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they just couldn't clear the sample. And I think they're trying to put on Black Book. And so we just got it. So I don't know what the plan is with it now. We got it on a promo and we've been playing it every single set since. I haven't heard anyone else play it. So Maybe people are sleeping on it. It's such a good track. It is such a fun track to play. It goes off every time. It's so unexpected, and it's like our favorite track right now.
Yeah,
I wish we wrote that track.
Right. I thought you did. I'm literally like an addict. I recorded it on my, just on my videos because they wouldn't Shazam, and I'm like listening to the 30 seconds I got. So, I mean, really, you're set in Chicago. Back in January, it was so much fun. Thank you guys for everything you do for the fans, and thank you for this interview. It's really been a pleasure.
Thank you,
awesome.
Olivia.
Thank you.
It's been great. Thank you, everybody.
I love that last story about how they met Barclay Crenshaw and their journey to getting on Dirtybird and how he didn't remember them. I think that's so funny. However, it did trigger a PTSD moment for me, which I'm going to tell you all about right now. And this will truly tell me if anyone pays attention to the outro of my podcast, because I have a sneaking suspicion you guys just hop off when the interview is done, which is fine. I don't introduce myself to artists very often out in the wild because it's a crazy industry. You meet so many people. You're not going to remember someone from meeting them one time or whatever. And I'm just shy. I'm introverted in general. But I was on Groove Cruise when was that? 2021. So like 3 years ago. And we were communicating mostly with my friends and stuff and my husband, mostly by typing in notes on our phone because we had all lost our voices. And so one day, like I had saw Claude when he was still Claude out in the wild. And I typed a note to my husband saying like, hey, should I go tell him that like this specific set is my favorite set in the world? And like, I love him and bye. And, I was enjoying myself at that time. So I was a little loopy. And he's like, oh yeah, go tell him. And then I didn't, because I was like, I'm not going to do that. Well, later on in the night, I ran into him and I had totally forgotten that I wrote out that whole note that said, love you, bye, at the end of it. And I went up to him and I pointed to my phone and I showed him the note. And he was just like, aw. And he gave me a hug. And oh my God, when I realized that is what I had written, I had forgotten to delete that love you bye part, I was so fucking embarrassed. Thankfully, I interviewed Claude a few weeks ago and he did not remember me, of course. He's met 5 million people in his life, and it doesn't hurt that I was wearing a red wig at the time. But yeah, that's just a funny moment I thought I would share with you guys. Anyway, this is being released today on Thursday, and I am currently at Miami Music Week as we speak, interviewing some of your faves. I am so stoked to bring that episode to you guys because it's been a labor of love to get here. I'm just going to say that. I'll release more details on my Instagram very soon. But, best way to support the show, of course, is to share with your friends and rate me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That helps a lot. Okay, I will see you guys next week.